So some kind of parallels with it, although the case with you, Gary, was a lot more demonstrable. When Spinoza Psyche fella came to your fucking house.
You know,
Yeah,
people
what
go
happened
to
with
weird, bizarre, sick extremes. Well, nothing happened with. I mean, look, I mean, you know, I'm not going to make a federal case out of that, just because
Did
to
he
me
come
that's
up and
just.
knock on your door?
No, I mean that would have been more considerate. No, you know, no, they just video themselves. You know, the girl says what a dump on the video, and my neighbor actually talked to her. But yeah, that, you know, it's just really the worst part of what he did was though is he came to this town, he went to a diner in this town, and started talking shit about me in my town. And that's the bullshit part. You know, you don't come into my fucking town and fuck with the people that live in this town and then put them on the fucking video too. And he did that. And that was really bullshit.
Pretty crazy to drive that far just to find out.
Do people in your town know who you are? Sorry.
Yeah, well, obviously some people know more than other people. Some people just know me as this menace to the local town council. I mean, some people think of me as some wacko who's, you know, always fighting dopey, stupid causes, and you know, some sort of, you know, communist menace that's, you know, among them. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on who the person is. I mean, the funniest thing is the people I've been the hardest on, like the cops and shit, they treat me the nicest. It's, you know, it's kind of bizarre.
So, are your neighbors aware of your videos here?
Yeah, I can't say that my direct neighbors are, you know, but we're not aware of each other's last names. I mean, it's kind of a weird town. You really don't know your neighbors too, especially on the road I live on. It's kind of rural, and people just mind their own business. So it's like, you know, people don't know who the fuck they live next door to. But like I said, I was at that public event today, the fishing derby thing, you know, and people would walk by and say, "Hey, Gary," and I have no idea who the fuck they were, you know. So it's like obvious people know who I am, but you know, I don't know them. Well, whatever. I mean, it's living, dying. What the hell does that mean? Be a selfish asshole like the rest of us, or just, you know, give up and don't fight for fixing anything. I mean, those aren't really the only two choices, I don't think. I think there's other choices. You know, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take you out with me. There's a choice right there. Uh, we have another pretty face in the room. She does look a little underage. Oh, no, she's okay. Seed bun. What the fuck is a seed bun? I mean, that just sounds all wrong. Ugh.
On the subject of your latest video with Ujima Flipper, talked about the culture in your town, and what is changing in your town that's disturbing you?
But it's not just my town, it's more the region. Like, see, I can remember towns next door, you know, 10 miles away. And 30 years ago, they were completely different than they are now. And I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to get into just this race thing, but I mean, now we have, you know, we have a place that used to be called Dover. Now it's called Dover Rico. Okay, it's because You know, it used to be one thing, and now it's 85% Puerto Rican. And if you go there and you don't speak Spanish, you're fucked. I mean, you won't see it. There's nothing English in the town anymore. You know, and it's that kind of shit that's going on. I mean, even in this town, though, you'll see it. This is really rich. So they hire a bunch of people to take care of their kids. It's like you'll see people walking down the street with a coaster with a kid in it, and they're speaking every language you can imagine. You know, I mean, European language, every language. I hear every language there is possible except English. No, but I mean, if I walk down the street at 10 o'clock in the morning and pass people, I'll be lucky if I find somebody who can speak fucking English.
So when you were talking about culture, you were speaking more of what bothers you is the fact not enough people speak English. It's not like they're putting graffiti on the walls or anything like that.
Well, they're not going to do it in this town, but they are certainly done it to these other towns. Like I said, these other towns have had the whole white flight thing happen, you know, because the towns were turned into shit. They were no longer a place you wanted to live. They were dirty and noisy, and, you know, there was no quality of life. So I'm just saying it's not a good thing. Because, you know, people, I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole welfare thing, all this other stuff, but I mean, it's a different psychology. I mean, they're willing to live with 10 people in a house. You know what I mean? And that can just fuck a suburb, because all of a sudden now there's 5 cars on the street. You know, all of a sudden you can't plow the snow. I mean, there's all these complications to all this, to what happens to somebody's lifestyle. And when you got houses, you know, there's a lot of row houses in towns in New Jersey. You know, it's very densely populated. So you're talking about houses that are, you know, 10, 15 feet apart. You know, I mean, they're really close to each other. And a neighborhood like that gets fucked really easily. I mean, one bad apple just kind of fucks the whole neighborhood. Because people aren't going to want to sit on their porch anymore, and they're not going to want to give a shit about their house because they can't sit outside and enjoy their property anymore because, you know, there's just too much racket and crap going on. You can't walk down the sidewalk, but some kid is going to plow into them on a skateboard or some kind of bullshit.
There's not really much that can be done about that, is there?
No, I mean, it's really just about civilization, you know. I mean, it is culture. You know, that's all I'm saying. You can't separate from culture because there's a, you know, I don't want to sound like some generation-gapped moron again here, but there's this Rockwell kind of way you lived, you know, and it wasn't as loud and obnoxious as people are today. People are a lot louder and obnoxious, so it's hard. People just don't care about getting in each other's faces. It's really, there's this boombox psychology out there. I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to crank up my tunes, and so I don't care if somebody 50 feet away has to listen to my music. And you just didn't have psychology. People like that just didn't exist, you know, 40 years ago. They understood that it was fucking rude, and nobody seems to understand that it's fucking rude.
Yeah, but you also said that happened to some degree back in the 60s. You guys were messing with the Leave It to Beaver generation.
Yeah, and again, the argument comes down to what is progress and what is regression. What is something that moves forward, is more civilized, versus something that's less civilized. So I would argue that the 60s took people out of a you know, a regiment that was really too rigid. You know, that was excessively sterile of freedom and a lot of things, and so that was a good movement. But yeah, it had really obnoxious elements. I'm not going to deny that. I'm just saying it's a complex thing. Like I said, I don't have the simple answer for it, but I know the real answer isn't to pretend that this isn't an evolution that takes place and that you aren't losing something for what you're gaining. So this whole idea of an open border sort of does mean because the poor people are going to breed more. They're going to have more kids. So eventually you're not going to have a country left. And the countries that are keeping their identity are usually the ones that don't have open door policy. I mean, look at Japan. They're not sitting there, you know, importing a bunch of other cultures, so they can retain some of their